CJ and Build family, and welcome to the podcast. This episode is officially the last episode of our first season. If you're listening for the first time, I hope you will go back and check out the earlier episodes as well. Today, we are thinking and talking about what it means to be a good client. You could take two people with side-by-side identical lots, identical plans for a build, identical architect, identical contractor. You get the picture. But the experience of the two could still be vastly different. One great and one worse than awful. You know why? Because the client's approaches to the project were vastly different. If you've listened to any of this season, you know that the number one thing a homeowner can do is be prepared. And yes, I know that really involves more than one thing. Heck, it involves more than a zillion things. Before you start talking to any professionals, be as clear as possible on why you are renovating, on what you want and what you need, on what styles you like, on what your budget is, and on how you and your spouse or partner, if you have one, are going to manage the project and any issues between the two of you. The clearer you can be with those you're going to hire, the more efficient the project will be. That is why I always recommend creating a brief that you can share with an architect. But even if you can't do that, make a bullet list, a Word document, a stick figure drawing, something. Throughout a renovation or build, you will most likely actually hire multiple professionals, experts in their field. As a client, be respectful of their knowledge. That doesn't mean don't ask questions, and it doesn't mean don't advocate for things you know you really want or need in your house. It does mean that you need to understand they know more than you do about remodeling or building a home, and so there are going to be times when you need to trust them. If you're renovating and there is a room next to one of your children's rooms that you think will make a great laundry room, maybe because right now the laundry is in the garage, which is freezing in the winter, you want your architect, when you describe this part of your vision, to tell you that putting a laundry room right next to a child's room maybe is not the best idea if they're a light sleeper. Trust me. I didn't have any say on where the laundry rooms were in my current house or my Brooklyn house, and in both cases, they were right next to my daughter's room. So I, of course, try never to do laundry when she's sleeping, which is really annoying because as a teen, she can easily sleep past 10 on a weekend, and I'm up and ready to do laundry much earlier than that. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish on the stuff. If you need all new plumbing fixtures, faucets, sinks, tubs, you name it, you could go through your contractor and her supplier, or you could source it yourself and maybe save some money. But if you source it yourself and it arrives damaged, or it's the wrong size, or has some other issue, that's on you. You can't then be the client that tries to make a contractor fix a problem that rolls up to you in terms of accountability. This almost happened to me during the North Fork build. It was a new build, so we needed a lot. Bathtub, multiple shower heads, faucets, etc. And for shower heads, if you don't know this, you might need the head, but also the diverter to direct water to the head or to the handheld, and certain valves, etc. It's a lot of pieces. Once we decided on the fixtures we wanted, I spent a lot of time creating the spreadsheet and tracking the best price for each item. Then I compared all of that to the quote from my builder, and even considered ordering some through his supplier, other things online. And doing that, or ordering it all myself, would have definitely saved me some money. But as he pointed out, and as I said before, then there would be no one to fix any issues but me. So in the end, we decided to let him get it all. As it turned out, the bathtub that arrived was the wrong size. Now, I don't know about you, but I am sure glad I did not have to figure out how to return that puppy back to Amazon or some other online site. But I had a tile store near me I loved. We didn't need a ton of tile, and so I bought the tile directly. With tile, you always order a bit extra anyway in case of breakage, so I felt comfortable doing that myself. And I knew the store, so any potential returns or issues would not be a hassle. Now, when decisions need to be made, make them, and then move on. For example, after choosing a tile and ordering it, don't spend even a single second guessing yourself, or going back to the tile store and looking again to see if there's something better. Okay, well, you can second guess yourself if you need to, but don't go look again and don't continue to talk about this decision with your build team. Your architect and contractor need to know you can make a decision and stand by it. If you keep changing your mind or appearing wishy-washy, they will be afraid to move forward until you really make clear you have made your decision, which can slow the whole project down. Not to mention that if you change your mind after something has been solidified and agreed to, maybe even ordered, depending on what it is, it will be considered a change order and cost you extra money for the change. Likewise, as I think I've mentioned, grant good intentions. Let me say that again. Grant good intentions. No one wants to build you a bad house. No one is trying to mess up on purpose. So if you see that they're doing something differently than what you expected, ask about it in a nice way, not an accusatory one. Chances are the reason behind the change is a solid one. With both your architect and then your builder, set clear expectations up front about how and when regular communication is going to happen, because it does need to happen regularly. Then respect that. Of course, if something is time sensitive or really urgent, you can reach out at any time, as they should to you, but don't pester them with calls and texts just to check in. This will 100% lead to them being annoyed with you. It's not home related, but I was watching a Gilmore Girls episode with my daughter the other night. I think most of you probably know that show. Rory was out and her boyfriend Dean called 14 times to see if she was home. Yep, this was before we all carried our cell phones everywhere. Obviously, Rory was not pleased with the calls, and the sheer volume of them made her not even want to call him back. So my message to you is, don't be a Dean. There's a big difference between being a squeaky wheel about something that matters and nagging. If you can establish and stick to good, routine, and then as needed communications, you won't be the job a contractor pushes pause on when they're feeling stretched. Your contractor will have lots of employees and or subcontractors on site at various times during the project. We've already covered not being a nag, but how about ways you can go the extra mile on the nice front? For one thing, periodically buy everyone lunch, but let them know in advance, since a lot of people may bring their lunch. And also take their sandwich order or pizza order so you know that you're bringing what people want to eat. Or turn up with snacks at the end of a workday on a Friday. Beth Pointer from Dunn Construction said she had a client who once a week during the project would tip a different worker $25 in cash. Of course, the client made sure that everyone was paid in the same amount of times by the end of the project, but it was a really fun way to make people's day. Be careful if you're thinking, oh, well, maybe on a Friday afternoon I'll just bring by some beer. The contractor may frown on this, especially since depending on where you live, people will drink a beer, then immediately get in their cars to drive home. Another nice thing I've done at the end of a project is invite the key players for a celebration. I'll use the North Fork as an example since it had a pool. We invited our real estate broker, the architect, the contractor, and all of their families over for a swim and a barbecue. It was the perfect way to say an extra thank you and to wrap up many, many months of work. Plus, it was fun to see the architect and contractor, who worked with each other quite regularly, poke fun at each other's work. The first episode of this season was called You Say You Want a Renovation, and that's basically been our overarching theme for these 12 episodes. You say you want a renovation, so here in this season is the 50,000-foot bird's eye view of what that means, what you need to do to make that happen. Look, we're not the serial podcast. We didn't get a man who was wrongly convicted of a murder set free, but we did, hopefully, set you up for your renovation or build so that you feel more confident and competent about the process, and that at the end of it, you have a finished home you love living in. We really look forward to seeing you next season, but while you wait, visit cjanebuild.com for more great remodel and build content. Thanks so much for listening.